Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are diving deep. If you look at the long list of free agents that we have this season, you can tell there will be some destruction at the running back position. There'll be primarily a ton of guys just changing teams, situations being completely different a year from now. Instead of me making this video saying, you know what? Yeah, let's go pick up Tony Pollard. Yeah, he's not under contract next year. Maybe he finds himself in a good situation. Go pick up Alexander Madison. Go pick up Khalil Herbert. I'm not going to tell you the obvious names. We're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to be looking at some players that are going to be available past round 20 in your Dynasty startup drafts, and dependent on the depth in your league, possibly a few of these guys you can even get off the waiver wire. But before we get into anything, make sure you go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you want to check out any of these player props, of course, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the comment section in the description of this video. And when you sign up for Underdog with promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100, and you can get into some drafts with us. One last thing. January 14th, Fantasy Flock Network meetup, Austin, Texas, 2 p.m. I better see you there. I better see you there. Now, our first player we're going to be getting into will be Hassan Haskins. This is a running back that, yeah, you never wanted to start when Derrick Henry missed the game a few weeks back. I mean, it was crazy that everybody was viewing Hassan Haskins and an offense that was horrendous in a game where he was going up against, I believe, the Dallas Cowboys, and they were going to get smoked. It's funny that people are looking at him as an option. But what we can say is this Tennessee Titans offense will probably be better going forward. Now, I don't know what the situation's going to be like with Ryan Tannehill. I don't know what the quarterback situation will be like in 2023, but I can guarantee you it's going to be better than the combo of Malik Willis and Joshua Dobbs. I really want to stress that Malik Willis is not this team's starting quarterback in 2023. And the primary reason, in my opinion, Hassan Haskins was a very bad option to go with was the game environment he was playing in, as well as the horrible offense. But if we get an upgraded quarterback, which it's not too hard to upgrade over Malik Willis, then this should be an okay team going forward, given how good this coaching staff has historically been. Now, of course, that's not really going to matter when Derrick Henry is the starting running back for the Tennessee Titans, and that is 100% the situation that we are currently in. But at the same time, if we are looking at Derrick Henry, the man who has been a machine for years now, the man that doesn't really miss time, dominates with an insane workload, and just looks like one of the biggest freaks of nature we've ever seen. Well, I want to act like he is never going to go down. He will be around forever. He is going to be 29, I believe, in like a week. Derrick Henry is essentially 29 years old right now. So this upcoming season, he'll be playing at 29, going on 30, with Derrick Henry's coming off a 4-year stretch where he's had an immense amount of touches. So it's not impossible to imagine that this next season, you could see some missed time from Derrick Henry. And if we were looking at the depth chart beyond Henry on this team, you really have nobody. Hassan Haskins is the only name here. He was just drafted in 2022. Now, he was a 4th-round pick, so he doesn't have a ton invested into him. I don't think Hassan Haskins is some long-term great option for the Tennessee Titans, but I do think he's going to step into being a primary handcuff running back this next year. He has the size you're looking for. I mean, the man's 228 pounds. We don't really have any testing measures on him. I doubt we can sit here and say that he is some freak athlete. No, Hassan Haskins has size. He's, in my opinion, going to be the primary handcuff running back behind a 29-year-old guy coming off an insane workload over the past 4 to 5 seasons. So he's definitely worth a spot on your roster. Definitely you can pick him up at the very end of the startup. Obviously, though, like I said, we're not going after names that are going to be providing you an immense amount of value. It's hard to find the next Tony Pollard here. And now our next guy going to be free as well. Pierre Strong. I mean, if we're going to be looking at Pierre Strong, very similar situation that you're going to have in the New England backfield, where you have nobody beyond the starter. You have Ramondre Stevenson as the locked and loaded starting running back for the New England Patriots going into next season. But beyond that, Damien Harris is not under contract. So Pierre Strong looks like he's going to be the number 2 there behind Ramondre Stevenson. Now, they did also draft Kevin Harris. They took Pierre Strong first. They ended up getting Pierre Strong in the 4th round. So another running back that doesn't have a ton invested into him. If you're going to be looking at his prospect profile, I mean, this is an extremely fast running back. He ran a 4.37. He doesn't have the size that you would look for. He only weighs 207 pounds. He's not a phenomenal pass catcher either. So with Pierre Strong, if something were to occur to Ramondre Stevenson this next year, I don't want to sit here and act like this is a running back that can be a top 10 option, a top 12 option. No, I think that he is going to be a handcuffed running back that if he is able to step into opportunity behind a good offensive line for the New England Patriots, he could provide you with mid running back 2 numbers, depending on if this team decides to address the running back depth issue this offseason. Maybe they end up bringing Damien Harris back, which would completely make Pierre Strong an afterthought. But still, as it stands, worth the spot on your roster, worth the spot at the very end. Someone that's actually a little bit better and a little more exciting is going to be Kenneth Gainwell. Obviously, Kenneth Gainwell not drafted in 2022 like these other guys. He was drafted back in 2021. And with Gainwell, what's been very funny is just the insane touchdown rate that we have seen through his NFL career. If you were looking at the first 2 years here, you've had 121 rush attempts. And off those 121 rush attempts, you've had 9 rushing touchdowns for Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know why. I mean, if those 9 rushing touchdowns instead went to Miles Sanders, I mean, Miles Sanders would be a completely different player in fantasy. But they are very willing to use Kenneth Gainwell in the red zone. They're also willing to use Kenneth Gainwell as a pass catcher. It's actually what he was best at back in Memphis, where he had almost a 15% team college target share. He's a great running back out of the backfield catching passes. I mean, through the first 2 years of his NFL career, he's had 79 targets. So you're looking at a running back that can get touches inside the red zone, can get involved as a pass catcher. So that's every valuable touch in the offense. Now, of course, what you're a little frustrated by is the Boston Scott usage. That obviously Miles Sanders is the starting running back here, but Miles Sanders isn't under contract this next season. Boston Scott isn't either. So right now, the only running backs under contract for the Philadelphia Eagles this next year are Trey Sermon, RIP, and Kenneth Gainwell. Now, of course, this is very easily a team that could decide to bring in another running back. Maybe this is a team that goes and just re-signs Miles Sanders. Maybe they sign Damien Harris. Maybe they go get Tony Pollard. Maybe they get Alexander Madison. There's going to be a musical chairs of running back this year in the NFL. We've already discussed this, so it's not a guarantee that because we're sitting here now and Kenneth Gainwell will be the starting running back for 2023, how it looks on paper, that ends up being the case. There's a lot to change, but still someone worth the spot on your roster, especially if you can get him at the end of the startup. Now, going over to our next guy, I mean, we clowned on him all offseason this past year. We said you could draft slow running backs. We said you could draft small running backs. But the last thing you could do is draft a slow and small running back. We showed historically that they had the lowest hit rate imaginable, and people still felt the need to tell us, oh no, Mason, you're discounting Isaiah Spiller. Oh no, Mason, Kyrie Williams going to be just fine. Okay, they're not that great, but I will say Isaiah Spiller should be a player that's on your roster. If we're looking at the depth of the running backs in Los Angeles, should clear out this next year, where Joshua Kelly only has $200,000 guaranteed. And if we're going to be looking at Austin Eckler, it's a running back that's 28 years old. Now, of course, Austin Eckler, I mean, playing at the top level you could ever imagine from a passing down running back, but still 28. I don't want to wish anything on anybody, but there is an outside chance that maybe Eckler were to miss time next year. And if that were to be the case, we can confidently say that the Los Angeles Chargers would still be a very good offense. And the one thing that was good about Isaiah Spiller in college is the man can catch the ball. The man had about a 10% team target share in college, which that's very nice. So I don't love the player, but I love the offense. I love the fact that, hell, if there is an injury in front of him, there's a clear path to being the passing down running back for Justin Herbert, which we've seen over the past few years is an extremely valuable role. I don't think he becomes the running back 1 in fantasy like Austin Eckler or anything, but I think he could become a mid running back 2 in a PPR format with an Eckler injury. Now, going over to our next guy, we're going to be looking at someone else that we did not like because we said you could draft small running backs. We said you could draft slow running backs. You can draft a running back that does not catch the ball out of the backfield, but you can't have 2 of 3. You can't be small and slow. You can't be small and a non-pass catcher. You can't be slow and a non-pass catcher. You have to have at least 2 of those 3 traits going in your direction. Samir White, another one of these guys that was a little on the smaller side, a BMI of 29. The same time, he was never a pass catcher at Georgia. The only thing he had going for him was his speed. And y'all know I was also a massive Josh Jacobs proponent this past year. Josh Jacobs was my most drafted player in fantasy football, aka why we won $150,000 on Underdog this year. But if we're going to be looking at Samir White, Josh Jacobs not under contract next season. There's not much depth here either. They have Brandon Bolden, but hell, he's going to be 33 years old, and they could save $2.5 million by moving on from him. So if you could save $2.5 million from moving on from 33-year-old Brandon Bolden, you're probably doing it. Now, of course, Josh Jacobs just led the NFL in rushing. I think it's likely that this team decides to franchise tag him if they can't work out a deal. But still, Samir White looks like he's going to be the handcuff running back next year at the very least. There's really nobody under contract if we don't assume that Josh Jacobs just guaranteed a return. So I didn't like his price in Dynasty rookie drafts last year, but if he's free, I'll take him. Someone else that I didn't like last year in rookie drafts, but if he's free, I'll take him. We're going to be looking at Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is another one of these guys. He is very small, weighs 194 pounds, and he was very slow. I mean, the man ran a 4.65 40-yard dash. So another one of these players that you can't be too excited about the prospect, but the situation I'm fine with. Because if you are going to be looking at the Los Angeles Rams, I think when you get Cooper Kupp, when you get Matthew Stafford back in next season, it is going to be a significantly better offense compared to what we just had this past year. I think it will be a bounce back spot for the Rams. They're not going to be a Super Bowl contender, but I think this will be a fringe playoff team. And if we're looking at the running back depth chart, hell, you have no Darrell Henderson here, obviously. So you have Cam Akers as the top dog. But beyond that, you have Kyren Williams and Ronnie Rivers. Kyren Williams is the clear number 2. Cam Akers hasn't shown the ability to catch the ball at the NFL level, even though we saw it in college. I'm really hoping that Cam Akers can turn the corner and can actually start being involved as a pass catcher for the Rams, but it's not a guarantee. So yet again, Kyren Williams, like every one of these running backs, it's hard to get too excited about the player, but maybe the situation could shake out in his favor this year. Now, of course, with these running backs, I can't sit here and act like every one of these guys is going to be great. All you want is one of these players to turn into something. If they're all free, if you can just get one of them to turn into something that will be a win, please don't go and trade a second-round pick for Samir White, though. Do not do that because of this video. I'm talking about waiver wire options or options at the very end of your startup. But I think that should be about it. If you enjoyed this video, please go down there, drop a like. If you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want to check out any of these player props, if you want to get in a draft with us on the live stream, make sure you sign up for Underdog Fantasy. You can find the link in the description of this video. You can find the link in the comment section. When you sign up for Underdog and use promo code FLOCK, they're going to match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. You're going to get our 2023 Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings and you're to support the channel. But thank you again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great day. Hope we get to see you with the video tomorrow.